Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, but since this is one of our special edition short episodes, we don't have time to record one of our comedic adult content warning masterpieces. I mean, we could have, in about the same amount of time it took to tell you we wouldn't, but we didn't. So there. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Ray Barboni from Miami.
Tough shit, bro. This ain't Miami. You want something? You gotta talk to me.
No. Fuck you, fuckball.
My name is Harris K. Telemacher. I live in Los Angeles and I've had 7 heart attacks. All imagined.
Yeah, Jake, it's Chinatown.
The stars at night are big and bright.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me and make it.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome to a special edition of the New Way podcast where we break down pop culture so you don't have to. You know what? We've done a bunch of these. You know what they are. They're short, little episodes, and but they're big. They're big on heart and big on content. Today we're starting with a on location, and this one is near and dear to our hearts because today the New Way is going on location in or about the state of Florida.
I mean, it's certainly near, but I'm not sure about deer all the time.
I mean, it's
I love it.
I mean, people love the Florida. Florida.
People who don't live in the Florida love the Florida.
This is true. And everyone who lives here hates it, but they don't go. You get stuck here, and then sometimes you leave, and then you elastic right back, and it's kind of crazy that way. It's a vortex of sorts.
It's so strange seeing people that like leave the state and just like, oh, I can't wait to get out of this shithole. And then they get out, and like a year later, they're back. They're like, well, I had a better job opportunity or something like that. And we've had plenty of friends leave and come back and leave and come back. It's been insane. I have it in separate friend groups from like everything from high school to post high school to college to group now. Every single one of them, although an inordinate number of them going to Chicago. And then coming back, or just the Midwest. I think the Midwest in general. It's kind of strange. It's
a strange thing. But so we're talking about movies that either take place in Florida or were shot famously in Florida. And Ben, you can kind of weigh in on this, but I sort of broke it down into, I think there are like 5 reasons you set something in Florida in your film or television property. Number 1 on that list is as a punchline, just as flat out as a joke, easily there. Number 2, if you're doing anything with the space shuttle, so a lot, you're either going to be going from Houston or you're going here. So you got your space shuttle.
Did Space Camp take place? No, that took place in Huntsville.
That's
Alabama.
in Huntsville. That's the one holdout. But Apollo 13 has a launch in Cape Canaveral, and then they work with a separate launch in Cape Canaveral. But okay. So you have that. Number 3 is you're doing something about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that seems to be a large. Like, so if there's any JFK stories, there is always a Florida connection at some point in it. Number 4 is serial killer or gruesome murder. So we do show up a lot for those type of films. And last is Spring Break. And that's really, to me, those seem to be the main 5 things that the typical. Now that obviously we're going to talk about some properties that go above and beyond that.
It's kind of funny because I broke it down in a completely different way. Because here's the thing. When you're talking about Florida appearing in a movie, there are tons of movies where a portion or some derivation of the plot takes place in Florida for whatever reason. And I mean, they're all across the board from a genre standpoint or whatever. And like you said, like sometimes they're played as a punchline. Sometimes they're played as like the place where they go at the end, or where they're trying to get to, like Requiem for a Dream. They're going to Florida. Everything's going to be better in Florida. No, it's not going to be better in Florida.
No, it is not.
I've got a surprise for you. But
that's your T-shirt.
But yeah, so I try to kind of shy away from movies that use Florida as a plot device.
Yes.
And instead, I focus more on films that take place entirely in the state of Florida, where Florida or a city within Florida plays a main role as a character within the movie, like within a major framework of the narrative. Or I also listed some films that were shot in Florida
Sure.
as a double for some other place.
Which is rare because it's usually the other way around.
Well, that's kind of the interesting thing. But there's a very interesting list of films that were shot for Florida to double as some other place, and for very smart and very good reasons, and it ended up working out very well. So I figured I would kind of get to that towards the end of everything. But
yeah,
I know that there are so many movies that like the ones that you mentioned where it's like, well, I had three that popped into my head that use Florida as a gag, and it's the only reason it's in it. Most of the rest of mine are much more revolving around Florida, but the three gag ones to me, and they're all really good gags. One is Home Alone 2, where the family is famously going to spend this sunny Christmas in Florida, and all that happens is it is raining the entire time as they leave Kevin at home on the Christmas vacation. Which is leave him at home. He gets on the wrong plane.
Oh, that's right. He gets on he goes to New York, and they go to Miami, and all it does is rain through their entire Christmas. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not even just like a punchline. That's just truth. Like that is just a very true Florida experience.
Oh sure, no, it happens. It's definitely one of those things that happens.
One of the other ones I love is Bad Santa. He has like a very brief moment where you think he's gone on to like run his own bar, and he's on this beach and he's cutting up limes, and it turns out he's just literally has gone behind the bar to make himself his own drink, and the actual bartender comes and chases him off.
Well, I think the irony there too is I forgot it's like Destin, Florida. It's like someplace in like the redneck Riviera or like Daytona Beach or some shit like that.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, just gonna start a bar on the beach. Get out of this life or whatever. Yeah. It's a great edit because it shows him. It's like 1 year later.
Yeah,
he's there on this beach and he's behind the bar, and you're just like, oh, he did it.
He did it.
And then the bartender is just like, what the fuck? I told you can't come back here.
It's so good. And my favorite out of all of the Florida gags has ever been done, and this has to be someone that knows Florida dinner theater very well, is the movie Soap Dish. Has a moment where Kevin Kline, who's this washed up actor, is doing dinner theater in I think in like Miami, Florida, and he's doing Death of a Salesman, and literally it's just like waiters are dropping plates in the middle of monologues, and a woman's like asking for a drink and no one's helping her, so he just like in character he's just doing Willy Loman lines, goes and like pours her a drink, and she just turns to him, she goes, "You're doing very well up there," and he just goes, "Thank you," and continues on. But it is the most accurate Florida theater scene that I think I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's a joy. But those are my three favorite Florida punchline movies.
Yeah, there's I mean, I'm surprised there haven't been more like Dave Barry novels that have been
just the one,
adapted into feature-length films, because in a lot of those, like Florida is like an entire punchline, and but they're actually startlingly accurate. I mean,
yes.
It's he's a great humorist, a great who calls South Florida his home, so it's okay. He's like, it's kind of like it's like Jewish. It's like, oh yeah, if you're Jewish, it's okay if you make fun of Jewish, you make Jewish jokes.
Yeah,
it's like if you live in Florida, it's totally cool to live in Florida. But if somebody outside of Florida makes a Florida joke, you're just like, shut the fuck up.
Well,
where are you from? Kentucky?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny and I always forget, because the one that they adapted, the big one they adapted of Dave Barry was Big Trouble, right. Which I've used one of two Dennis Farina Miami quotes in the opening for this. That one's actually from Get Shorty. But Elmer Leonard and Dave Barry both do it, and Dave Barry's Big Trouble actually feels like an Elmer Leonard, but it's the most Elmer Leonard-esque of the stuff that he's done.
It's a little dark. I mean, it's the plot is, I mean, like, not some of Dave Barry's plots do get a little haywire. I mean, that's kind of what he does as a novelist, is he puts normal people into haywire situations and then watches it kind of crumble and finds the humor in that. But I'm trying to remember. There's a name of one of his books, which takes place a lot of it takes place in the Keys, but it's like a dude who's marrying a very rich woman with very demanding in-laws, and they're like going to like Key Largo to get married at this resort. And the whole thing, like, it's literally like all of the shit starts like right when they land, because the bride's sister, who's like this druggie, has brought like so many pounds of weed from Colorado onto and it's the whole thing. And it ends up like the dude who gets picked up by his friends at the airport, they take him to the wrong hotel, and then he ends up on South Beach, and he's not supposed to be on South Beach. He's supposed to be on Key Largo, and he ends up having like 9 pitchers of margaritas and then passing out at the bar, and then somebody picks him up and takes him to a strip club and he gets robbed. The whole thing is just awesome.
Everyone that lives in Florida has had that weekend.
Oh yeah, exactly. But the whole thing is just, it's bananas. And there's a fully grown chimpanzee that gets involved at one point, and there's a shooting at like a strip club. It's crazy. And also a Haitian refugee. Huh. Who shows up on a raft at the it's
for some
insane.
reason when you said full-grown chimpanzee, it was such a specific thing that my brain immediately went to like a man-sized chimpanzee, like it was an adult. I don't know.
It was an adult. Yeah. It was not a silverback gorilla.
All right, just made me a very weird image in my head.
But so I think that the easiest ones to kind of start on are the ones that I think where the city or the state play a very crucial role sort of in like what's going on around the story. And so I thought a good place to start it's in the name, is The Florida Project, which is a recent film. Very fantastic film, by the way. For those that don't know, his name just escaped my head. He has a very short name. The guy who directed those, he directed Tangerine.
Sean Baker.
Yeah, Sean Baker. He shoots all of his films on iPhone, which is interesting. And he is notorious for not casting actors. He'll cast maybe an actor
one
or
anchor.
two. Yeah, like a couple of people in main roles, but typically populates his movies otherwise with just people, just normal people who either audition or somehow happen upon the set.
Yeah.
So, but The Florida Project is a great film because it kind of shows, in the same way of some other movies, a very sort of underrepresented side of Florida, kind of this a little bit of an underbelly, but like sort of an earnest underbelly, where it's not like we're talking about like mafiosos and kingpins and Scarface, which, all that sort of pain and gain, where we're getting to like crime and shit, like really legitimate crime. This is more of like people who are in, sometimes hard circumstances, who have had hard lives, and they're all kind of coexisting together. Anyways, I love that movie, and it's great that it's centered in Orlando, just because everybody's just like, I'm going to Disney World or whatever, and you're like, no, this is what's populated. If you drive around Orlando, you see a lot of this. You see a lot of these like essentially broke down hotel former hotels that have now been renovated and are essentially like almost halfway houses at this point. And it's depressing, but there's a lot of that around Orlando, especially.
Well, and we used to stay in whatever the cheapest motel was you could find. And I mean, like times where there were bloodstains on the walls and just other horrific things. So that movie for me, I was just like, oh, I've been there. I think I've stayed there before it was turned into like a tenant housing. But like, yeah, there is a whole side of Orlando that is not Kissimmee and not the downtown area and not the theme parks, that is very different than the happiest place on earth.
Yeah, it's an interesting place. But I think that kind of led me to some of the other ones where you're seeing kind of an underbelly type of thing. Bad Boys, although Bad Boys is kind of glamorous.
Yeah.
But
not as glamorous as Bad Boys 2, which really goes out of its way to fetishize the Miami
excessive.
scene. Yes.
Yeah, to be overtly excessive.
First of all, if you're saying that Michael Bay is excessive, you are dead wrong, Ben. Just dead wrong.
You're like, talk about excessive. Aren't you, Gus Van Sant? That's an excessive director.
Michael Bay's restraint shown in every one of his movies. You just you don't know it. He really wants to do even more.
Yeah, exactly. It was a downgrade when they only wrecked 473 cars during the middle of production instead of 614 that they planned. But
while we're on these kind of negative side of Florida things,
Miami Vice too.
Miami Vice. Well, and a lot of people really forget that Michael Mann with the original show, like the show became a parody of itself, and it was this idea of the rolled up white jackets, and it kind of became a punchline. But the first couple of seasons of Miami Vice and what they did with the movie was very much more online with kind of this gritty, almost the Scarface kind of side of things. And it was ahead of its time. And then I don't know I'm always curious, like what exactly happened with that show, because he's not a filmmaker known for doing what it eventually became. It was just such a weird tonal shift that show kind of went through.
I think that also because it kind of became so super popularized, and because Don Johnson's performance went from a performance to sort of a caricature of itself, that I don't know how long Mann was involved with that, but that thing just took on a life of its own. It's one of those things where it's like that dog that is really sweet, but you realize you're not going to be able to control after it turns 9 months old. It's, but it's going to grow, it's going to get big, and eventually it's, it's going to break out of the house and bite a bunch of people.
You can't contain Don Johnson, and you don't want to try. And
I think that it really did. I mean, I think that maybe that being an early in Mann's career may have also kind of colored the rest of his career, because he's stuck so close to the vest when it comes to his aesthetic and being ultra, sometimes overtly over serious with a lot of his content that he's done. In some cases, it's a little, I would say it's kind of exhausting in some of his movies.
Oh yeah. When you get into especially the lengthy, just like these huge, heavy, super dialogue driven scenes, and then these long, drawn out pseudo action beats. It's an interesting way to go. Speaking of the darker side of Florida, as I mentioned, one of my Florida genres is serial killer and or gruesome murder. And the one that is always interesting to me is Bully. And one of the reasons Bully is interesting to me is it's based on a true story, terrible story, basically about this asshole kid. This is a real story that took place in Florida. This asshole kid that was like just fucked around with these other kids, and they all ganged up on him out in like right around the Everglades and killed him. But what's really crazy about it is the movie and the actual story take place in my brother's neighborhood in Pembroke Pines, Florida, and literally like 2 townhomes down from him is the main house that Brad Renfro lives in, and there's like a whole scene at the Publix or the Subway that's near his house and stuff. And it's very like, it was one of those where I was watching it, and everything in Florida kind of looks the same. If you see like a strip mall, that could be any strip mall, but I remember watching it and being like, this looks really familiar. And my brother and I were like, oh no, this is all right here. But that's a Larry Clark movie, probably oddly enough, the most mainstream accessible Larry Clark movie, I would say. But based on a terrible true story and a very affecting movie, I have to say. But definitely kind of looks at that low kind of white trash Florida bullshit, and they literally hire like a kid hitman to like help murder this guy. It's a really crazy story.
That's insane.
Yeah.
To kind of bring it also to stick on something very similar, obviously one of the more popular recent films that took place, especially in South Florida, is Moonlight, Best Picture winner, and our friend Barry Jenkins' second feature film. But he grew up in Liberty City, where it was filmed, and so I think that the interesting thing is parts of Moonlight still look pretty.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the beach scenes, and even scenes like where he goes to like Mahershala Ali's character's house, like the drug dealer's house, and like that time. It's there's this interesting thing that happens with Miami where it's just like you're in Liberty City, and then all of a sudden you're in like this really rich neighborhood, you know, where a lot of, you know, rich people live, and it's less than like a mile from there. And there are lots of places like that in South Florida. And I think it captures the energy of that really well, because they shot it in all of these neighborhoods where Barry grew up, basically, and in these areas all around there. So that's a good one too, because I think it's kind of, while it's kind of has its own grit to it, it also has some real beauty in the way that they sort of portray it. And I think that would lead me to some of the, I mean, and like I said, I mentioned Scarface. I mentioned, you know, there are films that I think that led to, and Miami Vice, in a sense, as a show, led to sort of the stereotypical look or feel of like, this is what Miami is. This is what, you know, this state feels like, essentially. But ironically, when I looked at movies that weren't crime movies or weren't dramas or didn't have some sort of seedy underbelly, I was actually surprised when I looked back and I looked at how many comedies are entirely based in Florida, where Florida actually plays a pretty integral role. And so I'm going to name off a couple of them because it really made me start laughing. Obviously,
Jaws Ventura. 3. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. Yeah, Ace Ventura.
Which Ace Ventura is a pure Miami movie. I mean, it's like, he is like a Miami guy. I mean, it's got Dan Marino in the fucking movie.
The plot is our stolen mascot that doesn't exist for the Miami Dolphins.
Exactly. There's The Pest.
Oh, wow.
John Leguizamo, which is I didn't
even remember that. I mean, I remember the movie. I didn't remember it was Florida.
Oh, it's in the song. I'm the shyster, the pestmeister, living life in Miami's vice.
Oh, wow. That's right. Wow.
But it's interesting because it's got the multicultural aspect where he's pretending to be Asian and working at the delivery thing, and he's going. It's actually, you know, it's problematic. I mean, the whole thing is that the guy's a con man, basically.
Yeah.
He's a pest. But it really is. It's great because it was actually shot down there, and it's one of those things where if you're looking, you're like, oh, that's Biscayne Bowl. Oh, he's like in this neighborhood. Oh, he's in Coral Gables or whatever. It ends up being kind of a funny sort of thing. Not a much different type of comedy, but a movie I would still consider to some extent a comedy is Magic Mike.
Oh yeah.
Magic Mike is very much which Steven Soderbergh, and I think is actually a very fine movie. Channing Tatum is very good in that movie.
It's also a really good Florida, like it is very representative of I mean, obviously it's based on the actual club that Channing Tatum worked in Tampa.
Exactly.
But it is definitely that West Coast. What's funny is, for those of you that aren't in Florida or don't know, the way our state is structured is kind of like 7 different little states. South Florida is its own entity, and in among South Florida, you have places like Miami and Palm Beach that also exist separately from even the South Florida stuff. You've got the Keys, you've got the Daytona area, and then you have this relatively, and then there's of course the middle and north. It's very south, very southern. One of the movies I'm going to bring up, it does take place in parts of that area, but what's great is there's this like small, nice strip on the West Coast that is relatively rather nice and refined. And then you get to Tampa, and it's like Tampa sees everything that's happening south of it, and it holds on to a lot of the good stuff, but it also leans in heavy when you get into like the strip clubs and that kind of that Magic Mike side of thing, where it's like they have the money, but they also still have that trashy kind of stigma on them with everything they've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the representation of the state in that movie, just because it did feel that a lot of times they were in very nice and kind of pristine, and the way that Soderbergh tends to, or his cinematographers tend to work, is they do a lot of like wider lenses, sort of play like, kind of letting the camera sit back. But a lot of these locations where where we're not doing typical coverage of over the shoulder shots of 2 people talking, it just stays on a wide. but it's framed really well, and it'll be like by a bridge, and you'll see the water in the background, and you'll see, it's places that you would imagine somebody who lives in the area would actually go, and where these scenes feel lived in. And so the other, like I said, I liked Magic Mike, and I thought that was a good representation. Another really good representation, and I actually kind of skipped over this when I was doing the crime stuff, because I don't feel like it's a crime movie necessarily, but Out of Sight.
Oh yes,
the whole thing that happened, which is based on an Elmer Leonard novel, but which is based on a true story. The breakout scene that is represented,
Glades Day, baby. Glades Correctional Facility.
Glades Correctional Facility, where Beth's grandfather worked for 24 years. So it's really like that. This happened, and this happened in a place where I've driven by there, 130 times, and it's pretty incredible. And then a good portion of the movie also takes place in Florida.
Yes,
and so
it's Florida and Detroit. Those are your locations, which is kind of an amazing combination of places to travel in your movie. Out of Sight is big. First of all, Out of Sight is a movie that when I'm pressed and I'm really going through my top flicks of all time, it is way higher than it probably has any right to be on most people's list. But something about everything in that movie, from the cast to just the direction, the performances, I fucking love it. It's I think a hugely underrated flick. Maybe my favorite Soderbergh. I don't know. Like I absolutely love every moment of that movie. A great one. And while we're on kind of like the crime side of things, and we can go, we have a couple movies that are sort of adjacent to the Magic Mike side of things. One is Porky's, which
I forgot about Porky's.
Is set in the 40s and involves a really hillbilly, gross nightclub and some frat boys, and directed by the late great Bob Clark, who directed A Christmas Story. But yeah, Porky's is that middle of Florida. There, just this huge, vast area of Florida that exists in swamps and kind of, especially in the 40s. I'm sure, like Porky's was I think shot outside of Miami. Because back even at the time the Porky's was in the early 80s, a lot of that area was just not like, it wasn't developed like it is now. But Porky's is a great, just sort of weird redneck side of Florida. But one of my favorite Florida set movies, and I think also this movie is just very representative of Florida as a whole.
Flight of the Navigator.
It is not. It is not Flight of the Navigator. Is Wild Things. And
that's so good.
Wild Things
Wild Things in its entirety. I think a lot of it was filmed in LA.
I think, I don't think most of it was, and I think they even shot, I think, in Louisiana as standing in for like swampy area of Florida stuff. But what I love about that movie is that everything from the plot to the style to the actors, everything about it, whether it's shot in Florida or not, it feels like just quintessential stereotypical Florida in all of these different ways of just these, like you've got your gator wrangling, like swamp bar, and you've got these rich people that are trying to swindle out of other rich people. And it's like all of these walks of Florida life. I really love how they're put together in that movie, which is another one I like, not quite as high as Out of Sight, but Wild Things is another one of those movies that I think should show up on more lists as just a really underrated fucking fun time at the movies.
It completely knows what it is, and it leans into being just the trashiest, the worst novel you can find at an airport, and like
a Florida airport,
but it leans into it, and it leans into the pulp. I mean, it really is. It's basically that's a true definition of what pulp fiction actually is this type of, you're embracing noir elements, and there's usually more than one femme fatale. There's, there's
a twist,
sex, there's violence, and there's a huge twist. That's pulp fiction is not just a term that was created by Quentin Tarantino, somebody who we might talk about later on a different podcast. Time travel.
How dare you?
But But no, that's the sort of the definition of what pulp fiction actually kind of came from. It was from these kind of 50s and 60s when these trashy narrative articles in magazines and then also books started coming out, where it imbued this sense of a lot of the crime and underbelly stuff from noir, but then it was like taking on sort of like a romance novel type of thing, where it was going to be thrilling and erotic and all of this stuff like that. Wild Things is like a perfect representation of that genre.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Yeah, and I think on the comedy front, so I don't know if I have a couple of comedy ones, but another like very broad comedy that takes place largely in Florida is There's Something About Mary, which shot a lot of stuff down in Miami as well, which I always appreciate. But yeah, There's Something About Mary is another one of those that like, I like that it's Farrelly Brothers and they're coming from like their normal like northern sets and Rhode Island area, and you have this road trip, where he gets the hitchhiker on his way down through Florida and gets, arrested at a rest stop in the state of Florida, and then you eventually make it to Miami, and you have everything. It's another one of those that gives you a lot of great facets of what's happening in Miami. You've got Mary, who's living the South Beach kind of deco style with her leathery friend. You've got the seedy PI who decides he's going to want to live down there. Like, it's just, everything about it is gross. Like it makes itself gross one way or another. But it is a pretty good Florida base for at least the second half of that flick.
Apparently they couldn't get Marino, so they had to go with Brett Favre.
Yeah. Who is, man, if we ever do a special on the worst acting from an athlete worst actor ever.
Mary, I'll always be true to you.
I'm saying, you dumbass. We're in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
It sounded like Forrest Gump in real life trying to deliver a movie.
When I saw him in that, and then like he was doing like he kept playing football, I understood, because I was like, he has nowhere. Like, he can't stop playing football because this is not his out. Like, he is not. Yeah. He's not going to make. Even he makes Marino in Ace Ventura look like he's fucking Olivier. It's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I have so when I was looking up movies that were shot in Florida or that were based in Florida, there was just one title that jumped out to me that really made me laugh, which is I was just like, what the fuck is this? So I clicked on it. But it was just like, saw this long list of films that were shot in Florida, and it was called Dirty Cop No Donut. And I was just like,
well,
Dirty Cop
tell
No
us
Donut.
more, please.
With no like there was no period, no comma. It just said Dirty Cop No Donut. And apparently what it is it was a low budget fake cops that was like a raunchy comedy.
Okay.
With like no budget. But how this showed up on like a list of all of these other like Academy Award winning and nominated movies, that was just like, how does Wikipedia know that Dirty Cop No Donut was filmed and took place entirely in the state of Florida? Besides the fact that anytime you watch Cops, just watch Cops. Anytime you turn it on, I guarantee you one of every 4 events you're going to see says West Palm Beach, Florida.
So the movie you just mentioned, I decided to kind of hop on the IMDb, and I see the director, Tim Ritter, and I go, gosh, I know that name. So I know Tim Ritter, like, personally.
Holy shit.
He directed a movie called Wicked Games, also straight to video, shot in Florida, with my acting teacher, Kermit Chrisman, who's the head of the Palm Beach Shakespeare Festival, who started the basically Shakespeare in the Park up in Carlin Park.
Lord.
I worked with the lead, one of the lead actresses from both of those movies. These are, when we call these movies, it is a very thin use of the word. And I shit you not, I shot, like, we had to shoot movies in 9th grade for our lit class. And I shot like out on one of these, like, not like Peanut Island, but kind of like similar area areas out there, and there's this guy shot in the same place in the same way I did, like on a camcorder with the same shakiness that like he's just not. He directed the same way I directed when I was 12, and he's made a lot of movies. But yes, I've met the man. And I'm familiar with some of his other work.
Well,
I do love also.
I was just like, it was one of those things that just popped out to me. I'm just like, Dirty Cop, no donut.
Dirty
What the fuck
Cop,
is that?
No donut also has the tagline on the front of the box. It's not just a movie, which is kind of amazing. That I mean, it really should come with a donut, or a thing where a donut used to be, so they can tell you there is no donut. But that is amazing. I am familiar with that individual.
That's so good. Awesome. Well, that kind of also leads me. Oh, by the way, another one of your favorite movies of all time was also filmed in Florida, which was Daryl.
Yes, it is not one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh,
but,
yes,
well,
it is. You told me it was your favorite movie. You really, really liked the other kid actor, the kid not playing Daryl.
I was a fan. Listen, I was a fan. But yeah, it's not. I was just thought it'd be fun to assign to you.
I know, I'm joking.
Now, what's funny?
It wasn't to me.
No. Oh, it was to Nick.
I don't think we were talking
someone
about.
watched Daryl. I thought I made somebody watch it.
I've seen Daryl. I saw Daryl in the '80s when it came out. Like, it was on video. But I never saw.
It's fine.
Oh, she's hooking all over the place. Whatever the name is.
It's so good. Now this movie is only briefly set in Florida, but it has my favorite like name drop of a Florida county. It's this very specific Oscar I'm going to give this movie. We talked about it many years ago on my
best reference of a county.
Best reference of a county in Florida in a movie,
and the technical Oscar goes to
the line is, "He's the best damn trial attorney in Alachua County."
That is Devil's Advocate.
That is correct, and it takes place in a bar that is supposed to be a bar in Gainesville because he is supposed to have graduated from the University of Florida Law School. But they say the best damn trial attorney in Alachua County. The only two scenes that take place there are the church scene in the beginning and this badly like. They obviously just took like an Applebee's somewhere out in LA and just put up like orange and blue banners and like a gator sticker, and like that was their set dressing. It's
great.
Real bad. But I do love that. I love that like that's a like this is a claim to fame to be the best damn trial attorney in Alachua County is like, I don't know an equivalent without being rude, but it's not necessarily what you would brag about.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is amazing though.
The biggest cockroach in the infestation.
It's like I'm the best dentist in this tiny British village. I don't know.
That's funny. Well, before I actually go to some of the ones that were filmed down here for specific reasons, I did want to mention Cocoon.
Oh, it's Cocoon.
Is Cocoon.
Cocoon.
Because obviously Cocoon takes place in Florida for a reason, because it's the entire thing kind of circulates around a retirement community. It's actually honest. It's an honest representation, and there's a reason why they filmed it in Florida, and it was a good thing that took place.
If there were going to be old people in the ocean, there's only one place you can go, and that's here. That is Florida, with Steve Guttenberg.
I mean, you could have gone to like Galveston, Texas, too, but
it'd be a little different movie. But I think you would
not
still have
beaches.
Wilford Brimley in it. That's the only crossover. You would absolutely Wilford Brimley would be in both of those Cocoons. The other one would just be called Cocoon, and it would be just not a good movie. But
but no, I had to bring that up just because.
Of course.
So it takes place. Obviously, it's a movie that takes place in Florida for a very acute reason, which is plot driven. Do you think we have any listeners to our show that are too young or don't know of the Cocoon? I have no idea.
I was just curious if like we're just talking about random things in this movie, but if they don't know, they wouldn't.
Cocoon is about aliens that visit a retirement home.
Yeah,
and they make
them
feel younger.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's bad. Except that Wilford Brimley is only like 10 years older than me in that movie.
And that Brian Dennehy looks exactly the same, even though he was probably 17.
Yeah, this is true. Rest in peace.
So there's a really interesting one that was filmed here entirely. That was what really blew my mind. I don't know if they did pickup shots in like LA or
is this a new movie or
no. So Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands was shot entirely north of Tampa.
Yes.
And for perfect reasoning. The aesthetic, the Tim Burton aesthetic that was trying to be established for that you needed a flat landscape, open land where you could build or paint houses to look like kind of cookie cutter versions of one another, but just different colors. And I'm like, oh, that's Florida. So basically they kind of built a couple of blocks of a town in a wide open area.
Close. So they built the community and they painted them the color. So they built the community, as I understood it, they built the community first, and Burton wanted to paint the houses, and he had to get permission from the because there were owners. They were like pre-promised, like everything in Florida. You build a community with this like pre-promise because it still exists. You can still people live in that area. So they all had the choice to get it painted back freely, but none of them chose to do it.
It was a new new development.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I meant. Is that
they basically just said, hey, we want to like you're building this community anyway. We're gonna sublet it to shoot this thing, and then we'll tell everyone, oh, they get their houses painted, but if they don't like the color, we'll paint it back to the original like whatever normal dumb thing, and everyone kept the paint going on. Which that is a great one to point out also for Florida, because there's another movie that shot in Florida for the exact same reason, to look weird and prefab made together, and that's Truman Show, which is Sea Grove Beach, Florida.
Sea Island or whatever.
Yeah, it's but basically they needed some place that looked like a movie set and actually was like a real place that they didn't have to like build extra new shit for.
Wherever that was filmed is like off of it's one of those communities that's like on the Gulf side, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
It's like so yeah, I mean, you don't have to change much. I mean, you think about the Truman Show, I mean, you could shoot that in areas of St. Pete, where with all the bridges and the water and all these beautiful houses and everything's just kind of picturesque and clean. Yep.
It's what Florida does best. It looks like it's trying to look normal, and by doing so makes it feel very abnormal,
like alien.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting one, because I was just like, well, it makes total sense why they would shoot there, because it has that look. I mean, it's so flat. And so you could work off these like wide ocular lenses, and you could do all of this stuff that really kind of plays. And of course, then you can paint all of these houses that look exactly the same, different colors,
and the topiaries too, which they grew out and actually put in there as well, which is crazy.
Yeah, and work all of work this really cool color palette and really cool kind of aesthetic look. So it made total sense to me. Another movie I did not realize was filmed entirely in Florida, but it makes sense, is The Waterboy. So The Waterboy was supposed to exactly, they did all a lot of the scenes at the stadium at the
Citrus
the Stadium
Bowl. Well, was it Citrus Bowl?
It used to be the Citrus Bowl, and now it's called something else, but but what I didn't realize is, so I think that The Waterboy, if I'm correct, is supposed to take place in like Mississippi.
Like Louisiana, I think, or something. Yeah,
it's like Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, somewhere down there, essentially, where it's flat and everybody's a redneck. And so then you think, northeast Florida. I mean, that's exactly what you get over there. So ironically, what I didn't realize is my mom went to Stetson, and that's where they filmed all of the college scenes were actually filmed at Stetson. Yeah, which is there in between sort of Daytona and Orlando. They shot a lot of the early game stuff at like a high school stadium there in like DeLand, Florida. Yeah. And then they shot the big game stuff at the end at the UCF Stadium, which is crazy.
I don't know this for sure, but I believe our listener and my buddy Mark was at the filming of that because he was at UCF in '97 when they would have been shooting it there. So I think he may have had some in that. Mark can let me know when he listens to the episode.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, I thought that was really kind of cool. And again, I think that was probably that was in the '90s when the tax credit thing was still a big thing. Unfortunately, Florida has not become such a big hub for film production in recent years because we had some.
Because Skeletor did things.
Mr. Our Dick, Mr. Dick Scott rolled back.
Dick Mister was his porn name, by the way, but he wasn't very good.
Yeah, no. But anyways, our Governor Rick Scott and Senator Rick Scott, unfortunately, rolled back a bunch of the tax cuts that we were offering and it almost kind of entirely shut down production in Florida unless it was absolutely necessary for somebody to be here for some reason. Yeah. Or unless it was Michael Bay, who was just like, I've got $2 million. I'm going to make Mark Wahlberg a fucking ton of money. I'm going to come in to shoot in Miami no matter how much it costs. Which is the way I imagine
times. Yeah.
Michael Bay talking. But no, so fortunately now we are, warts and all, DeSantis is a far better governor than Rick Scott was, even though I don't like the guy that much. But no, I'd say altogether he probably is. Just a total mishandling of the biggest part of his job. But no, they've actually done a lot of. They've tried to attract a lot more productions back down to South Florida, and that includes extra money for some of the film coalitions and some of the municipal efforts. Tampa, St. Pete area is especially put a lot of money into attracting people to that area. Miami is once again, and the Keys are once again like a place where people are trying to attract stuff. I know that they did the whole season of The Killing down here like 2 years ago.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I watched that show. I don't even remember. I thought it was all Seattle.
They shot the entire thing in the Keys.
The Killing?
Pretty sure the show, The Killing. Amy Seamus was in that season.
Maybe I missed a season. I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, I just remember it being like all like cold shit, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I never watched the show, so I could be wrong. But anyways, just
no.
Do
you have any?
They also want me to mention like Sex Drive. Like they made Belglade, Florida, where Beth's grandmother lives, and where she grew up. They doubled that for like essentially like Quaker territory in like the Midwest. So they basically doubled sugarcane, and nobody realizes it, but it's like where there would be wheat fields, instead there's sugarcane, and there's just zero mention of it.
Why? I mean, why worry about bringing up something silly like that?
We're in a movie called Sex Drive. Like, what does it matter? Yeah. Of course. of course, sugarcane grows in western Nebraska.
Well, and a movie that is obviously important to Ben and me, which we've watched countless times, is of course Boynton Beach Club. No, I have never seen it.
I saw it in the theater.
Did you really?
Yeah.
It's a really weird storyline. I've only caught bits and pieces of it, but well, you live technically in Lake Worth, but you did reside in Boynton Beach for some time.
I'm like a well-thrown football from Boynton Beach.
Yes, you're very close, but you're not. But it doesn't count, Ben. You're not one of us, and we know it.
I lived in Boynton Beach.
You got
for
that
years.
Lake Worth ritzy stink on you, and I can smell it a mile away.
Wait. When you saying that Lake Worth is nicer than Boynton?
Lake Worth Beach.
I would say that Lake Worth stank.
Yeah, you got that fancy stuff. But yeah, there is a movie.
I crossed over Jog into Lake Worth territory, and then I was just like, why did my house value just drop by $100,000?
What's funny about Boynton Beach Club is when I went to China the first time in 2018. And I'd gone to this like expat bar that I actually wound up going back to that did like the beer trade stuff. I met this Finnish girl, and She used to like in Guangzhou. She was like don't you? I don't know where you're going. I saw your eyes light up when I said that, and I
didn't light up. I was just wondering.
There was an evil smile there, and I don't like what's behind it. But
I don't think you finished that night.
So anyway, that's terrible, and maybe. But yeah, so she had in Guangzhou where she lived, she was like a teacher. She taught English to Chinese students. They don't have like a lot of good internet access. It's like difficult, and you've got VPNs, you've got to do all this stuff. And they didn't have very much TV, but they had this like box top thing that would give them terrible movies to watch. Just like everything is like Bad Cop, No Donut, or Dirty Cop, No Donut. Like it's all movies like that. Like Titanic 2, which I shit you not is an actual movie that she made me like. So I kept in touch with her after I came back, and like I like Skyped with her while watching Titanic 2, and it's as terrible as you could possibly think it is. But she goes, "Oh, I'm so excited! You're from Florida. I've seen your movie, Boynton Beach Club," and I was like, "There's a Boynton Beach Club." So that was what spurred me to actually watch parts of that movie. Was that this person from Finland living in Guangzhou, China,
had seen the
Boynton Beach Club and was like, "Oh, you're from that place for the movie."
That's
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I saw Boynton Beach Club was because when I first moved down here, I lived directly across from the Alco movie theater in Platina, which was technically supposed to be an old person's home, but because of a technicality, we lived there anyway. And when that movie came out, it went to the Alco theater and it stayed there. I am not shitting you, for a year. The entire time I lived at Platina, Boynton Beach Club played at the Alco Theater. One of its 8 screens was dedicated to Boynton Beach Club.
Why not? Of course. I mean, it's the Dirt Theater. Why not?
And because these people, old people that would go see it over and
That's
over
the place
over
where
again.
we are. I want to be in that club.
Oh, no, it's the second Friday of the month, Soul. We have to go back to Alco and watch Boynton Beach Club again. It's my favorite movie. It's my favorite movie.
It was probably like the 1 p.m. showing so they could get dinner in before 4 and like get home.
I swear to God, though, like it had been there for 3 months, and I finally just went and saw it because I looked it up online. And I was just like, okay, this actually sounds like it could be kind of fun. I'll go see it. And it's not a great movie. It's not a bad movie either.
A movie that starts with someone backing over a person in their driveway.
Dude, I'm not fucking with you. I went at like 6 p.m. on like a Thursday, and the theater was fucking packed, and it had been there for like 3 months already.
And that's almost past bedtime, so that's impressive.
No,
you could have gone to the 9 p.m. showing and seen no one, unless it was someone that was asleep from the 6 p.m. showing.
Everybody else was getting ready for bed. I was just getting ready to go to Benny's Ice House for happy hour.
Where am I going to pre-party? I go watch Boynton Beach Club, knock back a few in the theater.
I really think it was like a day. Actually, I remember exactly what happens because I played poker at Benny's Ice House for years, and it was a Tuesday, is what it was, and the game never started until 8. I'd gotten home a little early at like 5:30, had 2 hours to kill, went and watched Boynton Beach Club, and then went and played poker at Benny's Ice House until about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So
that's living the dream.
It was 2006. So, man,
yeah, which is to your point, because that movie came out in 2005.
There you go.
So that's perfect. Do you have any more on your list?
No, I think I've covered most of the ones I really
want. Yeah, there are a few on here. I mean, Heartbreakers famously shot in Palm Beach for a long time. Not a great movie, not a terrible movie, but a great cast. Hugely wasted cast. Ben's about to tell me that I froze up. Yep. So it's funny when I record this is that my tracks keeps going and Ben is the one that slows down. But now it appears Ben is completely frozen. And it's just me talking to myself. And so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the New Wave Podcast. And we'll talk to you next time. Cheers. And I'll do Ben's cheers as well. Cheers. Cheers. Bye.